Hello, I'm glad you're here. I'm Heelsgood Dan, and I would like to welcome you to my very first video. In this video, I'll be playing the game Eternal Hope and discussing the stages of grief. These stages have a rough order, but in reality, there's no set time or order when you should feel which stage, and you can jump back and forth between them. You may start with the third stage bargaining or the fourth stage depression, before ever reaching the first stage denial or shock. I will explain what all that means later on, but without further ado, let's go on this journey together. Alone his whole life. Okay, I think I'm in control now. That lighting, though. Look at that. I know this game is a little tragic, but it has beautiful visuals. Wondering why he wasn't good enough. Why he wasn't loved enough. He sought out answers. Okay, E to drag objects, alright. So I'm guessing I just bring this box over here, and then I climb on this ladder. I love that detailing, that little like lens flare. I will get into the stages of grief just momentarily. I just want the intro and the story building to happen first, and hoped that someday he would meet someone. Loneliness is tough, and it can lead to overthinking. Oh, I think we just found our love interest. After so many years, he finally found what he was searching for. Someone to talk to. His life was filled with joy. As the years passed, their feelings grew stronger. He would never be alone again. I feel like I should bring up really quickly that dating can be a very slippery slope when you have a negative outlook, and I'll speak more on that in just a moment. Prologue. Like every morning, there he is. Oh, it seems like there's a storm brewing here. Yes, this is when the conflict is going to occur. She waited for him where they first met. Oh, everything's breaking in the background. But this time, he was late. It's okay, I'll get there in time. Oh god. Oh gee, oh dear, oh. Well. Anyway, so as I was saying, relationships are tricky because some people go into them for the wrong reasons. Your partner should be your company. They should never be your missing piece. Because you never have to begin with, right? You just found someone that you can share your life with, but you're still individual people that may just be better together. Ignore my poor gameplay. I started this to entertain and to bring mental health into the conversation. I did not start this to be a pro gamer. But when you're alone, you never lose a part of yourself. You may miss that person, you may rely on that person at times, but individually you still are separate people. You don't go into a relationship expecting that someone is going to fix you. Okay, so this time I'm just going to run, and maybe to get to the vine I just need to get a running start from it. So if I run all the way back and then I run forward, I might get enough momentum to swing over and actually pass the water instead of fall in it and reset again and again. Well, if any time to introduce the stages of grief now seems appropriate. So the stages of grief start with 5 to 7 stages. Technically, the first stage of grief is denial, or it could be the shock phase, again, however you choose to look at it. I know sometimes these are two separate stages, but I'm going to combine them. So in this stage, it's essentially our form of protection. So we're protecting ourselves through denial or through being shocked to protect us from the intensity of the loss. You may initially feel numb, and again, I just want to say that loss can be anything from the death of a family member or friend to breaking up from a relationship, or even something, I know this sounds silly, but even as something simple as a TV show ending. Grief does not just mean that you're grieving the dead. You can grieve any type of loss as long as it's significant enough to make you feel sad. And denial and shock is our way of taking the time to acknowledge the loss at our own pace. The second stage of grief is anger, and this is a common stage to happen after denial or shock. And anger usually comes from a place of powerlessness. We may be angry at ourselves after a breakup. We may be angry at a higher power when someone gets very sick. Deep down he knew. So anger is just before we hit the bargaining stage. That something wasn't right about that storm. And now the bargaining stage of grief is the third stage, and this is the stage where we think of the what ifs. We reminisce on things that we could have done differently or someone else have done differently. So what if we were more understanding? What if I tried harder? What if the doctor saw them sooner? And things like this, and this pattern can bring us into obsession. And this obsession of all the possibilities comes from a place of us not being able to do more in that situation. Now, letting go of your guilt and allowing yourself to focus on the now and to learn from your past and appreciating what you have now is the only way through bargaining. You can't be stuck on the what if scenarios, because in your life there will be so many times where you feel you could have done better. You could have said something. You could have stood up for yourself. And you can't think like that, because then you'll never be able to move on. Oh dear. Okay, we're just gonna pause on the grief. I gotta save my love interest here. Oh dear. At that moment, time stood still. The ground began to crumble. He would do anything to save her. But she disappeared, slowly right before his eyes. That is unbearably tragic. There was nothing he can do. And that has to be to save the love of his life. That has to be one of the hardest things to watch someone you love, and I've seen it before, to see someone so sick or decrepit. In this case, we are going to talk about death instead of losing just like a relationship. Technically, in this scenario, he lost both. But to see someone fading away right in front of you, day in and day out, you see them worsen, and being powerless to do anything. Oh, now I'm even moving slower as well. And grief can take a physical toll. I know in this game it's like symbolized through him walking slower now. You miss her, don't you? Well, you feel like a part of you is gone. A pain that is almost unbearable. You feel empty, lost. Well, perhaps I can show you a way to bring her back. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Oh my... Okay. Hello, demon from the shadow. Don't be afraid, little boy. I won't hurt you. I'm the keeper of souls in this realm, and I have a favor to ask you. When your beloved died, something odd happened. Her soul was shattered into pieces and scattered around the world. The event for some reason has weakened me, so now I'm not able to go after any souls by myself. I need time to restore my strength. If you help me collect the fragments of her soul, along with the souls of creatures in your path, I shall bring her back to life. I will give you some of my power so that you are able to complete the task. In the meantime, I'll be resting at the Temple of Souls. Meet me there once you finish the job, and I will honor our deal. Never trust any shadow, and I will talk about that later when I speak about schizophrenia, but in this case, do not trust any darkness or any shadow, especially someone who claims to be the keeper of souls. I don't see that going well for us. Oh, look at this. Now we're about to be eaten. This poor guy can't catch a break. Hey, wake up, wake up. Come on. Great, you're awake. For a moment, I thought you were... Never mind. We have like Navi, is that who this is? You were trapped in the shadow world for a few minutes. I had to get you out of there before it was too late. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Helly. Or Healy, I don't. I'm gonna stick around in case you decide to be reckless again. Oh, I'm sure we will be. People in love tend to do reckless things. Oh my, demon? It's an Anmu? Don't worry, they're harmless. Alright, I'm willing to trust a fairy that... Fairy? Fly? I don't know what it is. But it pulled me out of the shadow world, so how bad could it be, right? Look, a soul flower. It must be your girlfriend's. We found our first soul fragment. Chapter 1, The Journey. Alright, are we done with the lore now? As much as I do enjoy the lore of video games, and that's kind of half of this channel, I do want to continue with the educational piece of it. Now, the fourth stage of grief is depression. This is another stage that you can become stuck in if you allow it to consume you. Now, in future videos and in future games, I will talk about depression in more detail. For the sake of this video, as it is part of the stages of grief, I'm going to speak about it briefly. So this is when we really understand the extent of how this loss has affected us. You may find it difficult to sleep, difficult to eat, difficult to concentrate. You may find yourself lost in thought. You may have a lack of energy, etc. Now, depression essentially is an overwhelming sadness that can impact your daily living if not properly addressed. Now, one more thing that I would like to touch on with depression is It's okay to let yourself be sad. It's okay to grieve. It's healthy to grieve. So a lot of the times people may say, oh, don't cry. Oh, don't feel that bad. Right? These are the cliches that we're told, right? There's always someone doing worse than you. There's always someone doing better than you. But we can't think like that, and I'll tell you why. If the only people that were allowed to be sad were the people that were suffering and in so much agony that they have no escape from it, no relief, then we're just being happy at the expense of others. So let yourself cry. Let yourself feel all that you need to feel, all those emotions, the anger, the guilt, the sadness, because feeling it is the only way to get through it. Time does not heal all wounds. You can't simply forget about it. Oh, is this another soul flower, or is it just a... Oh, it's just a collectible type thing. Okay. Oh, hello, friend. You're just gonna bob in the water for us? I love how these Anmus are just here to, like, help us. Their only purpose is to help us. And that's a nice thing to think about, and it actually speaks really well to grief in that if someone wants help, reach out. If someone believes that they can do it by themselves, let them, but always be there to either hear them out or to lend a hand when they can't burden the grief on their own, because no one should go through it by themselves. The final stage of grief is acceptance. This is when we finally come out on the other side of all the other stages and have come to terms with how we feel. We've taken the time to process and reflect on the loss. Although I will admit there is no definitive end of grieving, maybe later in life it can come up. You may revert to another stage. You may go back to anger or depression. Even though you've allowed yourself to grieve and heal, that scar that was there, the damage that was done, will always remain there. To accept what we lost is to accept the grieving process. You can't ignore loss. Again, time does not fix all wounds. You have to do the work. You have to let yourself grieve. You have to let yourself feel the loss. We don't have much time. He's been following our tracks for days. We need to find a place to hide. And if you need to, reach out for support. No one has to go through grieving by themselves if they do not want to. Lean on a friend. Lean on a family member. If you really feel that you need the help, lean on professional support. Talk to a therapist. That's completely okay. However you take the time to process. Okay, great. We found the second piece of our girlfriend's soul. So now we are in chapter 2, the flood. I'm going to end this video here. If you've enjoyed the video and thought it was informative, please feel free to like. If you did not like the content, feel free to dislike and leave a constructive comment. We don't build ourselves up by tearing others down, so if you do want to leave a comment about how you did not like the video, please ensure that it is helpful. If you want to stick around for the future videos, please feel free to subscribe. There's power in each choice that you make. Like, dislike, subscribe, comment, it's all in your hands. I hope you all stay safe and hopeful, because you are worth it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you take care.